Okay, so trying to get all these cards in order after the new inkvent cards and whatnot. I'm just going to start by getting them into proper color families and then work from there. So we got some greens. Okay, reds and pinks and oranges, grays, browns, gray, just realized I have these where not all of the stacks I'm making are visible. Try and move this up a little bit. It might block my face, but that's okay, because no one wants to see that anyway. Okay, so we got reds, greens, blues, grays, browns, blacks, blue, green, okay. Got a brown here. Blue, greens. Earl Grey, so that'll go on the grays. It's more of a brown than anything. Blue, green, true blues, blue, green. Okay, we got a blue there, blue there. And I just got a text that I think my friend's son Landon is viewing possibly. So hi Landon, if you hear this, if that is indeed you on the stream. He likes watching the pen and ink videos, which I think is kind of cool. So blue, brown, green, purple. Guess that's purplish blue. Put that more with the blues for now. Red with green sheen, yellow, gray, orange. Guess that'll be in the blues. That's a, guess that would be considered a green, a dark green. Okay, we've got a purple, a really light purple, so I guess that almost needs its own stack. Another red with green sheen. purplish, brown, green, brown. Now that's the good tidings. So that was black with green sheen. So put that in black. And the best part is this is just one set of my testing cards. I still have an entire different set of the other cards to do the same thing too, but the theory is once I get these in order, I'll just replicate the order on those cards as well. So blue, blue, and these look like to have some order still, thankfully. Blue, green. Purple, blue. Green, green. And the honey colors, they're kind of between brown and yellow. There, green, 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 light blue, purple, 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 and purple. Okay. So I guess with this, just doing it by color and then deciding what order of the colors, let's knock out. And this is a question, you know, if you end up watching this, leave a comment. Are you, when you sort inks, do you try and get them in a perfect color wheel or just in a family and then go with it from there? You know, that's hard to, it's not exact, especially with swatches looking different. You know, it's always going to be, you know, like something like this Killanova here from the Inkvent calendar. It's a blue or a purple base with a blue sheen. So would that be a dark blue or would that be considered a purple? And then you have, you know, outliers that are, is that a red? Because that almost looks like that should go more with the brownish red. So I guess if I'm going darker to lighter. And that's magenta, so, it, you know, definitely not an exact order. We'll go with that for now for purples. Okay, and then in black here. Chakuro, I think that would be, and then Onyx, then Lamy, Takasumi, that. This is black with green sheen. I guess I'll put that on the top of the black pile. Okay. So these are browns. Actually, I'm gonna, this might be a little bit easier to set the piles aside now that they're sorted. And because this was grays and browns ended up in the sorting pile, so let's see what we're looking at here. So if we're going grays, that would probably be oyster gray, and then okay, that. So because these purple grays kind of go together better. Then brown, gray. And this is, I think that's going to end up going with the blues. That's more of a light blue than it is gray. So then let's see, we got browns here and golds, which are going to need to go in with the yellow oranges, bright yellow. Really need more desk space for this, apparently. Okay, so more yellows. Get those over here to start. And then I think Grotto would be one of the darkest of the oranges here. And then Tea Time. Lamy orange because of the sheen. Pumpkin. Toro, which I just put that in a pin. The video will be coming out next Saturday. Little sneak peek. It's in a new pin here, the Kaweco Piston. So that video will be coming soon. Okay. I think this fruit cocktail will go there. And if you didn't see the inkvent calendars, you can see the writing on all these. Same pen. That was a really thick ink, so it pretty much feathered everywhere. That seemed to be a common theme among watching other people who were doing unboxing videos and kind of talking about it. So I think that is lighter than that. So now these are the more browns. Those are more oranges. So let's get these over here. I think that nutmeg would be... Well, this is not all the browns because we don't have toffee brown in here. So Morning Star, that's going to be more orangish. So I might have some of my cards that are not in the stack here, or they've been missorted, so we'll have to see where they ended up. But in terms of the honeys and browns, I think we would do that. And then this here. Just moving this over in here. New to the streaming, so getting all this set up where I can see everything is definitely a little different. Okay. So we got yellow and the oranges. And then I think that will go in there. I'm going to leave these three out because I know I'm missing a few of the other browns that probably got mixed in with the reds. Let's get this pile over here. The grays are done. Let's go and get the blue greens in some sort of order. Okay, Ohio River. And the blue greens, because of the blue pile, there's going to be a lot of crossover, so let's see what I can do in terms of darker, lighter, darker, 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 lighter, 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 darker, lighter, darker. Okay. Oh, I can only imagine doing this with colored pencils. That would be, it'd be nice if all the ink makers had a code. Well, I'm blanking on the word. The not the hex code, but the what is the word I'm thinking of? The color chart. It'll hit me in here in a second. So that way you can order them against each other. I think the Fountain Pen Companion site has a little bit of that where you can do a bit of comparison. Okay, so that's almost more of a true green. I'm going to actually put that with the greens. It's a blue-green, but it's more green than anything else. Pantone, thank you. Pens and pages, that was the word I was looking for that was escaping my tongue. Okay, so this is not only integrating the Colorverse. I made my ink video the other day, and I really wanted the shot of just throwing ink cards on the table, so I kind of put myself in this position, but it also did make me take a look to kind of reorganize and not just throw colors with colors in the ring because they were there. It's the blues, obviously, is the large part of the collection. Blues and reds families hold the majority of what I have, so that makes this extra challenging for these. And then you get the blue greens. Does it go in the blues or the greens? So it's definitely not an exact science. It at least gets it with some sort of organization. Then okay. Now in the books I have, that's easier because you can't really change those around, but okay, so the Ohio River is very similar to the Lake Erie, which is similar to Aquamarine and the new Ricca. So these are really light blues here. Yeah, it is a judgment, and also I learned in doing the inkvent calendars that not all swatches are created equal, especially when you get into like the shimmers and whatnot, because if you don't have it perfectly mixed when doing the swatch, then you might miss out. There's one of these I really should go back and redo because it was one of the first shimmers that I ever really swatched aside from Golden Lapis from the Pelican Hub. Holding that made me think of it, and it was Cyro. That needs to go with greens. Okay, so that's lighter-ish here. In Pins and Pages, if you are who I think you are, tell Landon hi for me. Okay, we got lighter in there. That's a more prominent. This is also going to give me a fresh look at some of these inks I might want to use some more and revisit in 2025. You know, because that is one thing. The more inks you get, the easier it is for some of these ones that you've had sitting around to get lost in the stacks of what you have. So they might not get the use they really should. Okay, so we've got, let's get these in order. And then you add these sheens here where the base color and the sheen really change the color completely. Like Quasar, that's more purple than it is blue at this point. Okay. So, did you get any new inks for Christmas? If so, throw it in the chat. We can kind of talk through while sorting these. What inks did you get this year? Are you having to go through a similar process of organizing more cards, or okay, so that's a decent order, and I think these are somewhat in the order before. Like this one here, the Royal Blue from Mont Blanc, that looks more purple to me. It always has, even though I know it's a blue, it's just that the sheen on it really changes it on the card. So I'm actually going to set that aside and mix that in with the purples. even though it's called royal blue, just from a color standpoint, because purples will go after blues the way I have had these in here before. Okay. So that naturally goes into purple well, so then I'll actually put that one there. So then these are the blue greens. I'm actually going to put that there, and then I think this stack here. Okay, so Ricka with those. And since blue greens are going to tie in, I think I'm going to put these lighter ones here. Okay, so Icy Lilac, Baltic Breeze, Milky Ocean, which we got that free at Pelican Hub, and my wife put it in a pen, and it was the most watery, did not behave well ink, so that ink probably will never touch a pen here again. I think that'll be gifted to someone else to try and maybe mix or find some use for. That was not a preference in our house. So that Snow Globe, that's almost, I think that's more of a gray than anything else. So you put that. The grays, and the grays are going to go on blacks. So I guess now that we have the blues with some semblance here, I'm going to move on to getting the blue greens. And these are going to go back over in purples. Which will be there. Okay, so blue greens. And, you know, greens and blue greens have this whole stack here, so... Okay, so I think most of these are green proper. Although that one is almost more of a brown than a green. Dark Forest. Okay, Ancient Copper. That's actually, put that with the reds. Okay, so let's finish the blue greens and then get the greens. Yeah, because there's those other browns. Okay. Sayuro. That'll go after there, along with Pill. Blue Dot. I think greens will go before blues, so then that's a more natural transition color. Those are in a decent order like that. So then blues. So let's get greens. And I'm also going to look through after this and make sure I've swatched everything. With doing the inkvent calendars, I did get a couple new bottles of ink, and I didn't want to put them in the middle of my books where I have inks swatched. So I think I have a couple that actually I made cards for, but I did not put in the book. So that's going to be the other part of this that I'll do, not as part of the stream, because that's just going to be, no one would want to watch any of that. But getting these sorted. Okay, so this The color verse. So those are all more bold greens. That's kind of a flatter, so I think those would kind of go. Shin Ryoko matches that. Noble Fur. Mint Twist. Okay, and then Pine Needle. Yeah, there's a local pin friend, Olive Octopus Ink, and she has more Swatch cards than I think I've ever seen anybody, and she has sorting by brand, and then she has like this size card and the ones that go in a Rolodex and books and whatnot. And I've went back and forth of whether or not I wanted to keep the inkvent separate, but I don't have enough inks yet that's really a necessity. I don't want to try and keep track of too many different methods of sorting these, but brand is definitely that's if you haven't seen the fpc.ink, I think is the website where you can go. It has a searchable database of different inks. I would highly suggest that because that's a good online version to keep track of what you have. So if you're shopping for new inks, you know generally what you're dealing with. Okay, so we said greens are going to go into blues. And then blues are going to go into here. So that's the other greens that'll go into there. Okay, now the reds, pinks. Okay, so here's my other browns I was looking for. Although I still don't have my toffee brown card here. So there's some other cards missing that I might have to... At least those will be easier to add in after the fact, just finding the missing couple. Yeah, I had never really done swatch cards until this year. And I actually like it now because I can do something like this and look side by side, and my wife will, when she's getting a new pen and trying to decide, she'll come and look through at the different papers and swatches. Like this one, the Warrengold Pride and Prejudice is one of her inks where it's got the nice gold sheen. Because I don't really get much benefit of sheen or shimmer with extra fine nibs, where she writes in, anything from extra fine up to broad. So she has to take into account how the ink is going to lay down, which I'm glad that it's not part of my decision matrix. Okay, so Oxblood is definitely going to be one of the darker ones. Platinum Lavender. So that one, a couple of these are going to have to go back in with the purples, I think. And I think this Diamine Forest Gâteau is that sample I really need to go back and revisit. I think it was one of the ones, the first shimmers, and I let it settle a little bit too much when doing the swatching. But for now, I'm just going to go with what we have here. Okay, so, and then like both of these with the extreme sheens, those show up more as, greens. At least the light is picking up really well on here to show that variation, which, camera doesn't do that great all the time. It's really showing that green, and that's something Joe from Gentleman Stationer was talking about in some of his write-ups of the calendars this year, that when there's so much sheen, you lose the base color. What's the point? If you're losing track of the actual color due to the sheen, then, would it be better not just to have it be the one? So getting that right mixture of sheen, I think, is definitely... So like this is an ink that I've never really used much, but the Mont Blanc William Shakespeare Velvet Red, I'm really liking how that's looking on the card. So I have this red horizon in my 3776 right now, but I might have to go back and give that one a try. That's one that I've owned for quite a few years, but never really used much. Okay, so this is probably the brightest. That matches with Supernova. Then we'll put that there. Over to red, Ryan Noodlers. Okay, that gets into the darkers of the, and then Oxblood. Okay, so pink there. I think that needs to go orangish. So pinks into reds, into these. I'm also noticing that some of these cards are rubbing off on the others, so that's the other thing. I know Ancient Copper never had green glitter in it, but it does now on the Swatch card. Yeah, I think for annotating, that's probably better in a notebook versus on the cards. I need to have I've got these stamps from Well Appointed Desk where I can do the cool little ink bottle stamp and then refill it in. So I think over 2025, I'm going to make something I can take pages in and out, like an actual flip binder, or maybe get the Rolodex cards to do, or I can write properties on them a little bit more than these, because these are kind of limited in space of what you can do. So let's see. This was the purples and browns. So, oh, there's toffee brown. Okay, so that's the rest of my browns and purplish colors there. So, wilted rose. So that's going to tie into the, we'll do those into the reds here. Okay, so let's get these all sorted. See, and I have this. Both of these are commonly used inks. This is in my 823, and this is in my Schaefer Coffee. And when I was doing my inks of the year, I didn't want necessarily similar inks, but looking at them on the swatches, they look completely different. Now, when I write with them, they look very similar because of the small nibs, but hey, that's what you get. Okay, so I think that goes on there. Then Jupiter Flyby. Those kind of go with toffee brown, and then probably that kind of moves into the. This is the new Cyan Gyo, where you see a little bit of the, the color rings do a pretty flat color, but you can see some of the sheen on there. When this first went down, it was very dark cherry color. So that's it's going to be a really popular ink, I have a feeling, once more people get a chance to use it in person. Okay. So those, I think those can go in that order to there. So we end this with the deep purple. So if we're going from purplishes into red to brown, and these were the oranges that tie into brown, and then yellow. Okay, so now to get all these in a ring before they get out of order. And I know at some point I'm going to get to where the One Ring, handy Lord of the Rings reference, will not hold all of these cards. So that's probably when I'll get to sorting by brands or by true color families. But I have so many inks that are like go-to inks that have been in the pens for years that while doing the calendars was a nice way to get some new inks. You know, I'd rather have new pens than new inks in general. Okay. Okay, so one down. And one to go. Now these are going to start in a better semblance of order because these were not thrown about for the other video. Which I like how that look came out, but then I realized, that this was going to be necessary to a level that I didn't really intend. So, and then these obviously were thrown in the mix because these are all the, okay, so that's the existing. So let me go in and do this first. Get coloring over here. Okay. So we've got on this one yellows and greens. And these cards are thicker. So blue greens. I'm just going to go in. Okay, so that's decent there. It's grays and blacks. So that cyan Geo purple is gonna go probably there. Okay, so the new inks. Got an orange, pink, brown, green, blue, brown, black. Okay, the bright yellow, that's actually going to go first. There. Snow globe, that actually matches that pretty well. Purple. Tundra. Blues. Orange. Reds. Black. can, yeah, these colors definitely show. I just realized the camera is not in the, it's moving the mic. I'll just have to hold my hands up this way a little bit more. So get that in the red. Overall red, matches the cranberry and grotto. And then those were in the blues. Okay, so Chowcuro is the bottom. It is black. So I think we're here. So where I had that ended in browns. This is the grays and blacks. So Good Tidings and Chowcuro go back there. Now the grays into browns. Let's get these put in. Very similar to Rover. That works there. That gray comes up there. All those browns. Get the rest of the blacks back there. Earl Grey is going to be there, then those grays. Okay, so we got that sorted. Okay, greens, blue greens, orange, okay, so green must be there. Okay, greens, blue greens. Okay, let's get all the light blues. Those are going to be at the bottom. Purples. Pulse. Barnacles should actually be more up here. Rica. Okay. Purples. Okay, where are the reds? That was all the browns and blacks and grays. Okay, we got reds and the burgundies. So that's where those shaders are going to go. Now, I don't think I had a Kosamusu possibly in the coloring, so that's when I'll have to... Sorry, I'm just holding these closer so I can see them. Realizing that Kosamusu I don't necessarily have in the coloring, so that's when I'm going to have to check, because that was purchased. Since that was going... was discontinued, we picked that up during the midst of the coloring calendars. Okay, so there. Greens into blues. Then oranges are going to go into there we go. Oranges, browns, pinks. Okay. Now, one nice thing with these, and I'm probably going to change it out, these come with a larger ring that when Butler sells these, he sells them as 25 packs of cards. So I'm probably going to use one of the other larger rings for my coloring stack. So that I can fit more on there. That is one thing if you're going to do a Colorverse calendar next year, or an inkvent rather of any sort. Be sure and stock up on your swatching cards in advance, because when you, especially with this year doing 2 calendars, I needed instantly 50 swatch cards of each way I was swatching. So stock up in advance on those for sure. That's on my list of things I learned. Luckily, I thought about it enough in advance that it wasn't an issue, but I would have hated to get halfway through, especially with making videos, and then not have been able to complete them in the same manner. Okay. Get those a little bit better that way. So I'm definitely going to have to work for doing this over desk view if I'm doing something like this where I can angle the microphone and get the camera a little bit better position where it's not as far forward. And hopefully the audio is coming through pretty well on this. Because that's honestly the most important part. Okay, getting those in there. A pen each day, that would be quite a commitment. I've seen a bunch of, in looking for some new video ideas, people talk about using like one pen only for a week. And why I like that idea in principle to try it, I have some pens that I only use for certain things, and I want them to have the continuity and matching, so I just don't know if I could do an asterisk for something like that, but okay. So, while not perfect, I do have some semblance of ink swatching cards in order. Now, I know this is going to sound funny. Whenever I see this, it always makes me think it's like a ink ice cream sandwich. The brown on the edges and then the white in the middle. It kind of looks like an ice cream sandwich. I don't. But okay. Well, I appreciate, at least the one person who was in, and if anybody rewatches this, just to, to see what this process was like. As you can see, that's inks stack up pretty quickly of how many you can have, and that's the thing with fountain pens. There's always more inks. There's new ones coming out all the time that you see someone using, or you get a sample of, or you want to try, and it's a lot easier to pick up ink or get a sample from somebody than get a new pen. But so okay, well, in that, I appreciate you taking some time, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks.